morning, everybody. Are you good on, did you share it to your people too in your group?
Sharing it to my page.
Good morning, everybody. If you are here and you can hear us, come say hello in the comment box. I'm super excited. Happy Tuesday.
Yeah, happy Tuesday.
Feels like Wednesday because I usually go live Wednesdays.
Oh yeah, it's Tuesday. I'm sharing it to the group right now.
So. Okay, cool. Morning, everybody. If you are here, let me know where you guys are from, what's going on. Good morning, Sarah. Good morning, Karen and Kristen and Amanda and Lori. Hello, hello. Some of our amazing Kickoff with Asana students are here. I love it. Love the support.
Awesome.
Hi, Liz. Yay. Where are you guys from? What do you guys having going on? I keep thinking it's Wednesday today, but it's really Tuesday. Awesome. Kristen said she can see us and hear us. Perfect.
Okay, cool. So do you, so I'm just letting you man the chat then because I don't have it up on my screen.
I think you can go to my Workflow Queen business page and you can click on the video and you'll be able to pull it up. Yeah. If you need to, for just in case if anybody asks you questions. Yeah. Oh, Washington, Arkansas, Pennsylvania. Wow. Hey, Amy, how are you guys? Wow, there's so many students in here too. You guys are so amazing. Lucky for you guys, you got the little bonus in your course.
Hold on, I gotta make this.
You do what I do every time I pull on a live. It's like you hear me awkwardly in the background. San Diego, that's right.
Hey, Sarah. Oh, hey, Sarah.
I just met you before.
Yeah, we met. Yeah, we lived in the same town.
That's crazy. Michigan. Yeah. Yay. Well, good morning to everybody. So I know that everyone's time is probably super important. I mean, I hope so. So let's just go ahead and dive right in. My name is Alyssa Lang, AKA the Workflow Queen. I help bookkeepers and accountants to systematize, automate, and utilize tech in order to run their bookkeeping and tax practice. I am on a mission to try to help as many individuals as I possibly can to efficiently run their practice so they can spend less time doing shit and going to do the fun things. So I love to bring on people that I know my people could really need in their lives. And one of them is Serena. We connected maybe 4 or 5 months ago on Instagram.
Maybe a little longer, but yeah.
Yeah. We connected on Instagram, but little did she know I was a huge fan of her. And then we just connected. We both lived near each other, but now she moved. So it's been quite the connection. We've been kind of partnering up here and there with some stuff, and she's a very amazing, powerful woman and very knowledgeable. And I'm so excited to have her behind me a lot of the times. We lean on each other all the time. We have accountability buddies, and I think a lot of you guys need those. Mm-hmm. So without further ado, this is Serena Shoup CPA, and I'll let her introduce herself.
Awesome. So thank you guys all for showing up. And I'm going to get in a little bit today about diagnostic reviews. So if you don't know what those are or haven't implemented doing them in your practice, this will be perfect for you to get a little taste. And just a little background on me. I'm a CPA, like Alyssa said. I'm a mom of 3, and I run a virtual accounting practice, virtual accounting and advisory / bookkeeping. And I also mentor other bookkeepers and accountants looking to leave their corporate jobs or maybe stay-at-home moms that used to work in corporate and want to start their own bookkeeping business, because that was me. And join me in this wonderful virtual world of, helping business owners out. Yeah. So yay. Yay. I don't want to bother you with too many details, but I did work in corporate for about a decade, a little over that, I guess. But I always had this dream to start my own virtual practice. And that was towards the beginning of my career and then when I got pregnant with my second daughter, I was controller, and I knew that working the hours that I was working in that job, I would not be able to sustain going back to work in that environment. So I knew that this was my chance to start my own firm. And when I started out, I found a huge gap in the resources out there for someone like me who did already have an accounting background. But I was completely lost when it came to building the business, especially in the virtual world. It's a little different. And so through my trial and error, I came up with some systems and methods for all of that. And now I teach those methods to other bookkeepers and accountants through my group mentoring program and digital course, the Bookkeeping Business Accelerator. And I also have the Ambitious Bookkeeper blog with lots of free content and resources. And I'm pretty active on Instagram, so follow me over there. I have a Facebook page, but there's not much happening on it. So if you're here live, I would love it if you took a pic as you're watching and tag me and Alyssa over on Instagram. I'm at Serena Shoup CPA.
I wish everybody was here so we could just take like a cool little like boomerang.
I know, like a group photo. So that'll do. Just tag us and all that. So I actually want to share some slides because I think it'll help go through it a little bit better so you guys can get like more of a visual. Let me share my other screen. Oh, you have
also, to. Side note to everybody, I actually found Serena from her Ambitious Bookkeeper blog like 2 years ago when I had like
been at the beginning.
Yeah, I remember it was like I was trying to like figure out Asana and like I came across your blog, and that's why it was so funny when you reached out to me on Instagram. I'm like, oh my God, like I love you.
I know, and I was over here like, oh, I bet she's not even gonna talk to me. Be like, who is this person? So can you enable screen sharing?
Oh yeah, I'm like, wait, let me get my life together. Hold on. Multiple participants. I always do this to everybody. Okay, who can start sharing? Okay, cool. I think you should have access to share.
Sweet. I'll do this one. Cool. So
dang, we have people from
that's the welcome slide. I already kind of went through my intro. But so we're here to talk today about diagnostic reviews. And first I want to talk about like what exactly it is in case you're not sure. So when you take your car to the shop, to the mechanic, when you know that there's like something wrong with it, most of the time they're not going to look at it for free. Like even before they have any idea of what's wrong with it, they're not going to look at it for free. They're going to be like, all right, you can come drop it off. And the diagnostic is anywhere from $50 to maybe $150, $200, right? So I'm taking that same concept and using it in bookkeeping because, as most of you know, when you get a new client that already has an existing business, there's most likely issues going to pop up. And you never know that until you're already, like you've already accepted the engagement and you're digging through things and they might be like, yeah, I just want you to start with January or like whatever the current month is. But then you get in there and you're like, well, that freaking thing hasn't been reconciled for 3 years and your balance sheet's a mess and all sorts of stuff. So then you have to go back and be like, excuse me, your stuff is kind of messy and I can't move forward until it's better. And they might not have been expecting a big, huge expense for you to clean up their mess, or not even realizing there was a mess, or not realizing the ramifications of it. Because a lot of people don't really understand. They're just like, oh yeah, you can hop in and start from today to go forward. It's not really how it works with balances, especially when it comes to cash. So the solution is a diagnostic review. And like Alyssa and I have talked about this a lot in the past, like she doesn't charge for them, and that is totally okay. Like I want you to be okay with whichever route you take. I just want you to do them.
I started to though.
Awesome, yes.
You inspired me.
And I'll get into why in a second. But like the diagnostic thing has been a game changer for like figuring out what to do to go forward. And let's get into that. So why?
Lori has a question for you.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you have your chat box up, so I didn't know.
Oh, hold on. Let me pull it up.
Lori happens to live in the same town as my dad. We found that out. It's so funny. Our world is so
Moreno Valley. I'm a very seasoned accountant with 20 years self-employed. Would I benefit from your workshop that you're having next week? Yeah, and we can talk about this at the end of that for sure. So awesome. Thanks. I'm glad you found that. So let me flip back over to my other presentation screen. So let's talk about why we should be doing a diagnostic. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of them, and especially doing them before you enter into any agreement with a client, especially if, like I said, they've already had history, whether it's 3 months of history or 3 years. A diagnostic is going to help you a ton. And then, of course, like I said, I'm also a fan of charging for them. And I'll get into that in a second. That way, if the client doesn't end up hiring you, you're paid for your time because your time and your expertise is very valuable. So you're going to get compensated for your time. And it's when it comes to charging, you like a mechanic, you can charge anywhere from like what your hourly rate is if you bill hourly, or like kind of an estimate. Like if you think it's going to take you about an hour to do a diagnostic, then charge an hourly rate, or you could just charge a flat fee across the board to make it a lot easier. You never have to like figure out how many hours you think you might spend on something, and just be like, yeah, this is my price for diagnostics, take it or leave it. And so I started out charging just $100 for a diagnostic. And every time I do another one, I charge a little bit more because I'm like, yeah, I think I'm worth it.
Right.
So some people charge $500, $1,000 for a diagnostic. I would definitely like take into a couple things into consideration when you're charging, like how much history, like that's a question you can ask the client before you even get into doing a diagnostic. How many years have you been in business? Yeah. If they've been in business for just a month, your diagnostic is not going to take you very long.
Yeah.
If they've been in business for 4 years and they've never had a bookkeeper, charge a lot. Like charge $500 to $1,000. I'm not even kidding. Yeah. And that brings me to, you'll know what you're getting yourself into that way. And when you, and then you'll know whether you even want to take on that engagement if it looks like a complete disaster. And if the client is like, yeah, I'm not really willing to like go back in time and fix all that, then you can make a decision. You're basically already doing all of the hard work part, the hardest part of the cleanup, which is doing all the research, right? Yeah. So like the hardest part of doing the cleanup is really just digging through everything. Once you've dug through everything, you know what you need to do next. So to do all that work for free would be not great. Yeah. I guess. So that's benefit number 3. And lastly, if they're serious about having clean books, they will pay for it. Yeah. And that means also that they value having a bookkeeper that is going to help their business grow. Yeah. So that's my spiel on why doing a diagnostic. So let's check in and see if there's any questions for a second. No more questions. Cool. So if you have any, feel free to drop them below.
Yeah, you guys are going to probably have some of the more that we kind of move forward in this. If you do, there's a reason why we're doing this live, to give you guys an opportunity to ask whatever questions you can, so we can try to show you what we possibly can. So you guys are welcome to throw them in the comments. I'm kind of monitoring that on the side, so I'll kind of shoot them out if somebody has a question. I do have a question though for you. Yeah. When it comes to, what if you do find out, like say you charge someone like $400 for a diagnostic review, you go through it, you have this massive report, and then at the end of the day, you're like, you know what, this is just not my area of expertise. Because I always tell people, don't just take on a set of books just because you want to make the money. Like, you should always be striving to learn more and taking on a new type of client, but you have to be strategic about how. What if you already charged them, you go through the review and realize it's not even a good fit? Do you give them a report and refund them, or how does that work?
So the way that I structure my diagnostics is I charge up front before I even start them, and I say, this is the price. So then I invoice them and then I get started, just like with my monthly engagements. And then I tell them, if we both decide it's a good fit to move forward with the cleanup work, I will discount, or not discount, but that can be applied to your cleanup, what I'm going to charge you for a cleanup. So let me jump in here because I saw a question pop up and I want to answer with this. How would you respond to a client as to why you would have to do a diagnostic first, and what would be the purpose from the client's perspective? So the purpose is to be able to tell them your books are either like they need cleanup before we can move forward, or they're in good shape, so let's go. But also it helps you price the cleanup better. So if you've already done all the work of the cleanup and you're delivering, we can get into the report part piece in a minute. If you've already done all that work, you can price the cleanup job effectively. And if it was way more work doing the diagnostic than you thought it would be, then you can, at that point, increase your price for the cleanup. Be like, all right, so the cleanup now, because they don't know really that you've done all of the work already.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of doing the entries now.
And you don't mean like, yeah, the work. You don't mean like actually changing things, right? You're talking
right. You're not changing anything in a diagnostic. You're just peeking under the hood, but you're taking notes while you go so that you know, like if you do take on the cleanup or if you deliver a report for them, you have everything listed out that you know needs to be looked at. Yeah, you're not doing like all the heavy research, like figuring out where things should go. You're just saying, I know this looks wrong, this looks wrong, and that looks wrong. Yeah. So I know that if I take on the cleanup or if someone else does, they'll know what areas to focus on.
Yeah.
So hopefully that answers your question, Lori. So to tell your client to have clean books, there's always stuff with like, especially with the bank accounts, those definitely need to be correct before you can move forward. And if they don't see the value in that, you might want to reevaluate being in a client relationship with them.
Yeah.
Let's see, there's another question. What are you looking for when you do a diagnostic? So I'll get into that in a second. I don't think there's any other questions yet.
There's one more from Marcy.
Yeah. If they don't really want to pay for cleanup of past years, they did file tax returns, but they just want to have clean this year going forward, what can we do? It depends on what exactly isn't cleaned up, like what is a mess. If the bank balance is really off, there is still going to be a little bit of work that you have to do to clean up things. Even if it's just a journal entry to the opening balance.
Would you offset it to, I know there's like arguments of this. That's actually a really good question of, when you do that, so a lot of people do the January 31st following the year that the previous years have been filed. They just want to start brand new 2019. You would reconcile, January 31st, that first statement, whatever's left over, you would do adjusting journal entry to go to retained earnings. A lot of people argue to not go to retained earnings. I totally get what they're trying to say.
Yeah.
A lot of people get stuck on that. It's like, well, my client doesn't want to clean up the previous year. So how do I move forward?
It happens a lot. Like most clients actually don't, especially because they're like, I don't want to refile tax returns. Won't I get audited? Yeah. And maybe, but wouldn't you rather, my perspective always is having a conversation with the client in that respect and being like, well, would you rather get audited right now once we finally clean everything up and we know what's what? Or do you want to get audited in 6 years right before the statute of limitations is up and then have no clue what happened?
Yeah.
And then still owe the extra taxes and the penalties.
Yeah.
So it's a conversation that you have to have with the client, and honestly can give you a lot of insight into whether or not it'll be a good client to work with.
Yeah. But if they were just like, you know what, I just really want to start off fresh. They've had that conversation. Is that something where you close out the previous year? Are you doing something similar like that? Like where you're adjusting those entries?
Yeah. If the bank balance is off and I can't reconcile going forward, then an entry has to be made. I also have a conversation with them, depending on the state of the previous books, is it in such a mess that we don't even want to mess with it? Do we just start a new file in QuickBooks or Xero? Sometimes that's the answer. And that way, especially if they've already filed taxes for all that and they don't want to touch it, but they know it was a mess, and it's well, do they want the history of those years? Because if there's such a mess, the history is not going to be valuable to report on anyway.
Oh, that's a good way to think of it.
So you might have that conversation with the client, hey, do you mind if I just start a new file? You'll still have access to your old file in QuickBooks, even if it's online. You just won't be able to make changes to it when you cancel an account. Yeah. And there might be after a year, maybe you won't be able to access it, but you can help them, download all the reports that they're going to need for their audit trail of the mess that they had. You know what I mean? Is there even a point? But yeah, so that's my approach. I always give them two options. Look, we can either clean it up, or start a new file, or if it's not a huge adjustment, I do adjust to either opening balance equity or retained earnings.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of whatever your style is on that one.
Oh, sweet.
And let's see, I totally agree, as I am now only going to work with clients who see my value to them and their business. Awesome, Lori. Awesome. I'm so glad to declare that, because it's important. And I think we all start out like that just because we want experience. I had some doozies at the beginning, like for sure, of clients. And that was actually one of the red flags, was like, yeah, I know my taxes are messed up in the past and I don't want to touch them. And I'm like, okay. That ended up being a red flag. There was some other things, but so if that is in conjunction with some other red flags, you might want to like reevaluate some things. But yeah, we all start off with clients that don't really value the work that we do. So
yeah, absolutely.
Sarah says, if it's too much of a mess, we start over and re-input it. Exactly. Yeah, re-input if it's not too much like volume, you can totally do that. Or like the other approach too, if you're starting a new file, is to input them as journal entries monthly. Like, but it's still kind of like the same amount of work. You just don't have all the, the customer detail and all that kind of stuff. But Marcy, is that how you say your name? I don't want to say your name.
Terrible at names too.
That's exactly what I offered this potential client. I said, I will only do it with new QuickBooks, but didn't know if I should start the opening balances based on the tax return or focus on bank account balances without considering that. Well, it depends on the type of entity, because if they're just a single member LLC, then they only have a Schedule C. The Schedule C actually doesn't have a balance sheet, so you don't have to worry about the balance sheet side of things, only cash. If they are an S Corp or a partnership, they do typically have a balance sheet reported on their tax return. So in that case, yeah, you would want to match the balance sheet, which then begs the question,
right?
Like, shouldn't you just clean it up?
Right.
So that's the major conundrum on that one. I'm always excited when it's just a Schedule C and I'm like, oh, phew, I don't have to worry about the balance sheet of previous years. So, all right. I'm going to get back into like the how of the diagnostic review and what I look for, because someone had that question. So I take it in 3 chunks. I first look at all the assets on the balance sheet. I literally just go down the balance sheet line item by line item and look and make sure like nothing looks funky in each account that they have. So I can't really tell you, look at this account, that account, and this account, because every company is going to have a little bit of a different chart of accounts, but all of them have cash. If you're in QuickBooks, you probably have undeposited funds, which is a problem account usually, and sometimes uncategorized asset, which is a default account that you can't get rid of.
You have no choice. You're stuck.
Yeah, so those 3 for sure you have to look at. And then if they have fixed assets and all the asset accounts, basically, the balance sheet's your checklist on this one, guys.
Yeah.
All right. And then I jump into liabilities and equity. Equity accounts, depending on if like they have that opening balance equity account that's a disaster, it usually has to do with like when they set up their QuickBooks file, if they already had a bank account open, the default on the other side when you say, yeah, I have a balance, is to, what are you doing over there?
I actually pressed a button and all of a sudden like the voices were happening and I was like, stop, you're being too
I couldn't hear it, so that's good.
Okay,
you would have
good.
totally thrown me off.
I am so you're all freaking out over here. I'm sorry, keep going.
Okay. Yeah, so like I said, the equity accounts, the opening balance equity account is usually an issue if someone set up their own QuickBooks file, because that's the other side of the entry whenever they set up a bank balance thing. So that's a problem account to look at. And then after liabilities and equity, I actually verify all their settings and I go into like running the P&L and making sure that their account categories look good, and maybe things can be like spruced up and cleaned up and simplified, because a lot of people think that they need a separate chart of, or a separate GL account or a separate category for like every single expense, but some of them can be grouped together and simplify their reports. So I always look at that and make some recommendations, and I make recommendations on settings like closing previous periods intent, so that they can't go in and mess up things that you've already worked on. So yeah, I look at their settings and I look at the P&L, and then I look at their reporting layout. Like that kind of goes along with like looking at the chart of accounts and how many categories they have and all that kind of stuff. But I look to see if their report layout looks good and makes sense to their business. And that's really a conversation that you'll want to have with the client once you do the whole cleanup and be like, okay, this is what your reports look like. Do they even make sense to you? What would make sense to you? And all that. And that's an opportunity to show them that like, you know, your stuff for sure. And that if they work with you after this, they'll get to like help design what makes sense to them with reason. Obviously, you don't want like to leave it all up to them, but you can work through like helping them understand the financial statements and how to help it make sense to them. So that's my process. It's actually pretty simple. You just follow the balance sheet and then check on settings and the reporting. So I'm going to pause again for questions. Let's see. I don't see any yet, but I know there's a little bit of a delay.
Yeah, usually there is. Yes.
So what do you think, Alyssa? What have you been charging for diagnostics now, if you don't mind sharing?
350 has been like the sweet spot. The whole thing at first was like, do I just charge for it and like not roll it over? But then now it's rolled over, or if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out.
Exactly.
That's kind of where my question was coming from. But it's funny because I've known that you're supposed to perform a diagnostic review, and I've been taught to do so. And I have since, doing everything in my bookkeeping practice. Maybe not, that's a lie. Maybe not like the first couple of clients, because you're not really aware that you should be. It takes people like you to like make us aware of it.
I wasn't either, honestly, which I should have known, because every corporate accounting job that I've gone into, there's always a mess that I had to clean up. So I should have known too, but I didn't do it.
Yeah. And you just don't think to do it because you don't think that we're like qualified to do some sort of like a review, like a car, like an auto shop or something in that sense. Yeah, I think it's one of those things that like, it really helps to set the tone of like how everything's going to go. And it lets me know like what the mess is going to be. Like I had one of my clients who I recently did a really large cleanup for, who went to accounting school, but she just wanted to make sure she had a second pair of eyes. And she really thought that she really had a grasp on things, but things were like a hot mess, a lot of random miscellaneous expenses, which was her like giving money to her staff. Like, and I'm like, this is no. Like we did a lot of like, she's a friend of mine. So we walked through everything. I actually trained her on like after, but when I did the diagnostic review, I was like, I think you thought this was going to take me 2 hours to do a cleanup, but honey, this is going to take a lot of time because it's a mess. The books are a mess. And it was her first year in business, and it was overwhelming for her to hear, but she took it really well. She was like, I want to learn, because she wants to go to school for it. So maybe she just learned in a different way than what, I don't know. Everybody has
also like accounting school. I didn't get to take a class where we actually learned QuickBooks until I think my second year of accounting. Yeah. So you first do everything on paper, on a ledger paper. So you understand the journal entries back and forth, but you don't see any of that in QuickBooks. And let's be completely honest, for anyone that has an accounting background, you're going to get frustrated with QuickBooks Online. Oh yeah. Just going to put it out there, because you don't see those things. And some of the things that they do don't make sense to us as accountants if you have that like GL background. Yeah. So like, I'm not saying it's impossible to work in, but it's a different side. Like it's built for the business owner. It really is, for someone that doesn't know what happens in the background. But if you know what happens in the background and you just want to be able to like make a journal entry to correct it, it's not gonna happen. Yeah. So that might have been her deal. Like she has the foundations of accounting and all that. But yeah, it can be, I still screw things up in QuickBooks Online, to be honest, because it doesn't work the way I want it to most of the time. Yeah,
it doesn't. You really do have to work around it. You kind of really have to understand like how it's moving in the background, like what it's doing, because a lot of times people like, and I see this a lot inside of Facebook groups, like especially bookkeeping and accounting Facebook groups, like, oh, I'm just going to be a bookkeeper. Like, where do I start? And then they start just taking on people. And it's like, you really need to understand the foundations. And they'll say things like, well, I'm just going to get QuickBooks certified. That should make me a bookkeeper. That's not really how it should. Doesn't mean you need to go to school for a degree. Absolutely, you don't have to, but you need to do your studies. You really need to understand the foundations of all these things. So then when you do stuff like these diagnostic reviews, you're reading them as the debit and credit side or the trial balance side. You're not just looking at it as, okay, these numbers, like this is what's going on. Like you really have to like understand and take a step back and like really get the bigger picture of the whole thing from the foundational aspect and not just the
That's a good point to make. Like the way that I like the balance sheet is always your checklist for clean financials, honestly. So if you don't understand the balance sheet, take it upon yourself to actually to go and learn the foundations of a trial balance. And there's some really good free resources out there. I'll drop it in the comments. Accountingcoach.com is a really good one.
Oh, I love them. I was just going through I was doing a bit more research. I'm a tax preparer, so I know what like the taxes should look like for like the book value of your taxes versus the books, like how you translate like the tax side and the book side. And like I was trying to get like technical research on it, like, and the accounting, that website's amazing because I was able to like they broke it down like really clearly, like there's the difference between the tax and the books, like, but how they kind of come together and like what those really mean.
Yeah, so I highly recommend that one if you know that you're not strong in this area. So like just be honest with yourself on it. Like don't give up on bookkeeping because you're not strong in that area. Just get the help that you need.
Yep.
So that you're like at the highest level of integrity with your clients as you can be. So I'm going to go back to the chat box real quick. What do they have to provide for you to do this? Just access to their QuickBooks account? Yeah, because you're only looking at what you think might be wrong. You're not actually digging into like verifying anything yet. But when you start to go through things, and it's all like seems scary just talking about it right now, but when you do your next cleanup or your next diagnostic, this will start to make sense. But like you're just looking at things that look like red flags. Like if a fixed assets account has a credit balance, then you know you're going to have to go back and dig into that one and get support. I'm
wondering if she means if Jennifer is essentially talking about like what documents.
Yeah. I just ask for access to their QuickBooks account. I don't verify anything when I'm doing the diagnostic. Yeah. It's only if they engage you for the cleanup, then you ask for all the documents to verify all those things.
Like the POS access, bank balances. So you don't grab any of the prior year tax return, none of that kind of stuff?
If it might be smart to grab a prior year tax return, but I haven't done that in a diagnostic thing. Like what I do, like I do caveat it though. And I'm like, when I get into the cleanup, there might be more questions, but this for sure I know needs attention. So you're still estimating like, and I would pad it, like be like, all right, so like I do have the question about the taxes. If you have like like you said, a POS system or something, that'll be another question mark. So you could totally ask for those things, but if it's a brand new like cold lead, if you will, like someone that isn't like familiar with you, they might not be very comfortable giving you all those documents.
Without being signed on and like having some sort of a contract.
And it is good to do a contract with the diagnostic as well. Just like this is the price and this is what you get when I deliver the report, which I'm going to talk about in a second. But it's always good to have an agreement anyway, even if it's like a one pager, like here's the invoice that you have to pay and this is what you get at the end of it. I'm not like you have to specify, I'm not actually changing transactions. I'm not doing any of the cleanup. I'm purely just peeking under the hood. So it's still good to have a contract for any type of work you do, even if it's just a one-time thing.
Yeah.
So hopefully that answered your question. Really, it's up to you. If you want to start verifying stuff, then charge more for sure, because then you're doing a deeper level of diagnostic and really starting to get into that cleanup. Yeah. And then Karen says, yes, Serena, sometimes QBO has me frustrated for sure, like on the daily for me.
Yeah.
And Sarah says QB desktop all the way. You have control. You know what? Like when I started my virtual firm, it was like my goal to only be virtual. So I said, I'm not going to take QuickBooks Desktop clients because at that point, there wasn't a very good option for remoting in. And now there are options. So that is totally a route that you can take. I do miss being able to have a backup of company files because like I said, I screw things up sometimes too. And I'm like, shit, I wish I could just undo that. Like revert back to the old version, which I think you can do in QuickBooks Online Advanced, but not the other versions. So, do you ever use, Shanette says, do you ever use the overview tab in QBO to measure the size of the cleanup? Absolutely. That's actually, I wanted to make this training more geared towards like any software, but when specifically I'm doing a QBO cleanup, which is all the cleanups I've done. Like I've never had to clean up a new client in Xero, but I look at the overview tab first to see like when the last time they reconciled those bank accounts was and how many bank accounts they have and all that kind of stuff. And you may have already discussed this. Nope, hadn't discussed it yet, so you're good. But yeah, I do check out the overview tab. I love that tab in QBO. Like I have a love-hate relationship with QBO for sure. Because they have some really cool features, but there's some frustrating things too, which is pretty much every software. But yeah. Hey Andrew, QuickBooks have to be almost entirely reconstructed when you get audited by the IRS. QuickBooks are so non-transparent. Yeah, they've gotten better. But like when I first started working in a CPA firm, like 12 years ago, maybe. No, not quite that. It was like 10 years ago. Yeah. We had one client that was on QuickBooks Online, and it's gotten so much better since then. Yeah. Like back then, you couldn't lock previous periods. You couldn't set up different user roles. It was bad. Like it was really bad. Yeah. Their first version. But good to know, Andrew. What about Xero clients? Let me know. Or if you even ever came across that whenever you were, because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that you used to work for the IRS, but you can confirm that. And then Sarah says, experience is what brought me to the level I am now. Absolutely. And you're not going to get that unless you just jump in. So that is one of the things that I'm like helping people do with my Kickstarter workshops is like getting them from like, I want to start a bookkeeping business to actually jumping in and just doing it. Because of exactly what Sarah said, you have to get the experience to gain the confidence. Yeah. And Jennifer says, do you require a diagnostic before taking on any new client? If they have if they've already been in business and already have an accounting file set up, then yes, I do. So it's also a good way to weed people out that aren't serious or that, might not be a great client to work with. Yeah. And Jennifer says, yes, that's what I was wondering. Oh, cool. And then, the comments are going so fast. QB Desktop is virtual through QBox. Now I have all my clients on it. Yep, Sarah, awesome. Let me know how that works. Like,
we use QBox for one of my staff members who kind of controls all the desktop that we work with, because I don't do desktop anymore. We use QBox, and I know I don't even honestly know how to use it. Like that's really bad because I'm usually like all hands in with everybody, but she's the one staff member that I just let do her thing. But she's really amazing with desktop. She's really great with real estate, and that's her thing. And she uses QBox, and it works. I just cover the costs, and I'm like, you figure it out. You'll be good.
So you build that into your pricing with your clients. You cover the cost of QBox then?
Yes.
Cool.
Yep.
And then Marcy, I'm assuming that's not your name, sorry. You can have a backup with apps with QBO. Yeah, I think QBox is the number one recommended, if I'm not mistaken. There used to be another one, but I can't remember what it's called. Yeah. And then Lori says, technology always has its issues no matter what. Absolutely. And then Sarah says, can we have more info on your workshops? And QBox is very simple. Yes. So the workshops are... I'm going to drop the link.
Yeah, it's funny because everyone always tells me QBox is super simple, but I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty positive I can understand the tech side of it, but the problem is I don't want to handle desktop. So I prefer to, relinquish that. And that's where workflows and systems come into play. Is I would rather step away and focus on the bigger picture of things over here for my business than be doing and handling QBox or QuickBooks Desktop or communicating with my clients. Instead, I just relinquish that to other people to handle for me, So it's like, I could sit here and learn it, but I don't want to learn it.
Yeah.
It.
It's funny how you get to that point, like in your business too. Like, I'm the same way. And I used to be all about like rolling up my sleeves and figuring it all out because that's how I got where I was in my career, just like
of course.
Ish done. Right. But now I'm to the point where I'm like, I just don't have like the desire anymore. And I just want things to be simple. So, and that's the beauty of having your own practice, right? You can make that decision. Like I did, I decided I wasn't even going to mess with QBox or anything, like either QBO or Xero. And honestly, now I'm moving towards like only taking clients on Xero. So to make it even more simple, to be like, just to keep it all in one system. And Marcy says Rewind is a good one to back up QBO. Cool. Oh, you can back up QBO on Rewind?
Yeah, Rewind. I believe it's Marcy's talking about Rewind. Oh my gosh, get it together. Rewind.io. I'm pretty positive because you can even, if you do structured trainings, you can create your own QBO and use that as like a training platform with Rewind.io. I only know this because the filming I just had to go through.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, because I've done trainings in a demo company, but there's limitations with that unless you go in and make transactions happen, right? Like so that you can demonstrate stuff. But awesome, good to know. Thanks. Like I'm always learning stuff too, man.
Right, every day.
And so I'm gonna go back to Sarah's question about the workshops that I'm doing.
Yeah.
They are really designed for the person who has been thinking about starting their bookkeeping business and like doesn't know the first place to start. So we're going to be talking about like what it actually entails running a bookkeeping business virtually. That's what I'm focusing on, is virtual, and the tools that you need to do so. A little bit of mindset stuff. Like I know like people are like, I don't want to hear the mindset, but like that seriously is the biggest thing. And we're going to go into like creating a plan for your first year, pricing a little bit. And so I'm going like kind of surface level on stuff just to help people get the ball rolling. And then at the end of it, like I just love full transparency. Like at the end of it, I'm opening up my Bookkeeping Business Accelerator program that goes really deep into all the things building your business. It's all the stuff that took me over a year to figure out, trial and error, and the things that I wish I'd had starting out. And I know there's other programs out there, and like I'm just at the point where like you can learn from me or other people. It's totally cool if you resonate with my style. But my program has a coaching mentoring component where like we do hot seats and you can bring your client questions and get help with stuff. You can bring your mindset stuff, you can bring your pricing stuff, and like we can work through things together. And I think that's been really valuable for my students, and that is really what like moves the needle. So even if you don't join the workshops, that's going to be opening up at the end of it on the 25th of September.
Side note, I have actually taken that course.
I know, you're awesome.
My favorite part was, and I think I had messaged you, I was like, you broke down the whole entity structure, like how you should even be structuring yourself. And I've been in business with my bookkeeping and tax practice for 5 years. And I just took it, what was it, 6 months ago that you had the first round? And I was like, oh my God, I didn't even think about these things. Like, you learn something new every day. We're not perfect, even if you've been in business for 10, 20 years. I felt like I learned a lot from that program. And like, I felt super awesome. And I loved the community part of it and the pieces, and everybody was just so like, everybody knew each other in your program, and it was so much fun.
Super tight knit too. Like, this time, like last time, I didn't have the option to go through it by yourself versus the hot seat calls. This time I am giving people 2 options, because not everybody wants to get on Zoom every week, or not everybody needs every component of the course. So I wanted to make it like you can come in and grab the stuff out of it that you need. Like if you're having trouble with your engagement letters, or you're having trouble with your like what entity structure to use and all that kind of stuff, it's all in there.
Yeah. That's what I like
Most
about
people
it.
haven't actually gone through every module. I can see like who's completed everything, but they've gotten the things that they needed, and that's what it was important. So
I definitely was like, I grabbed whatever, but I take a lot of online courses where I don't buy the program to essentially learn everything that's in there. A lot of times it's a piece or a portion or a part of it that makes sense. Like even for like Kickoff with Asana, some people already know Asana. They've got a really good grasp on it, but they sometimes want to hop in because
that was me. I had been using Asana for a year and I thought I like had it down. And then I joined your course and I was like, holy crap.
right.
I know like very little about Asana.
Right. And it's funny, but people don't, they buy certain things to be able to get to be a part of something for a chunk of it. And like, for example, a lot of people were here. Serena's got her amazing workshop coming up. B, if you guys didn't know, Kickoff with Asana is doing a private pre-sale, and anybody who joins during the private pre-sale gets the bonus that Serena included inside the course. This is just like barely like a little tad. She did like, I think 25 minutes of 4 different videos of a breakdown of an actual diagnostic review with an actual breakdown with the Asana template that I provide on how to do a diagnostic review.
Yeah.
And it was seriously like,
that will make the whole course worth it along with all your other templates. But yeah.
I had so many students like message me and they were like, oh my gosh, like I love this bonus. Like it really breaks it down. Like, and it did. Like I should have forwarded you all the emails. Like they were like, you're so amazing. Thank you so much for this. Like I've been stuck on this with a lot of people. They want to see the real life Asana template action with a real life thing. My forte is not diagnostic review. So hence I had to bring someone in who was that expert, who can actually bring it. You know what you're talking about. And I think that what you put together for everybody, whether it's through your blog, through these workshops, or even through your program, it's a game changer, you know?
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. I'm so glad that it's helped your students. Like, that's always the question. Like, when I put stuff out, I'm like, is this actually going to help people? Or am I just like weird?
I'm like, I needed it. So, of course, if I needed it at one point, someone else in this world, if I can impact.
That's true.
Yeah.
Andrew said, he was an IRS agent for 5 years. I audited about 150 businesses. About 90% used QuickBooks Desktop. About 9% used Paper. Holy crap! And one business used Peachtree. Oh yes, Peachtree is where I started my like journey in accounting. Like you probably don't even. It's a Sage product, but I loved it. Cloud accounting, Peachtree cloud accounting was not really, cloud accounting was not yet a thing in 2009. Yeah, Peachtree was great. Paper was good. QuickBooks was usually a disaster from an audit perspective. Yeah, wow, Paper. And then Jeanette says, yes, it's only $10 a month. Oh, the rewind. Oh, cool. That's good to know. Really and cheap. Then Wendy asks, sounds like it could be useful for someone just starting with a few clients. Absolutely. Like, you're even going to get stuff out of it if you already have clients or you're having trouble like getting more clients. And if you do the VIP, like I have a VIP option for the workshops where after each workshop every day, we can do a Zoom call and we're going to be like workshopping stuff together, like whatever it is you need help breaking through, like of either the homework that we did from that day or just other stuff. Like I'm just opening it up. And then Sarah says, what if you're established but want to take your business to another level? You know what, Sarah, if you want to have a private chat and like let me know what it is exactly that you're struggling with, I might be able to point you in the right resource or see if the Accelerator program is a good fit for you. And maybe like if you want to join the workshops, cool, but I know that you've been in business for quite a while. And if you are just looking to get to another level, let's just have a chat. Yeah. You can message me and we'll set something up. And then Wendy says, Kickoff with Asana is awesome. It is.
It's so funny because I have all the previous students always get the best, newest updates and all my bonuses. Like they
Sarah, you're in Kickoff with Asana. Awesome.
Yeah. Sarah's in it. Wendy's in it. There's Andrew's in it. There's a couple, Lori, a lot of our Kickoff with Asana students, which it's pretty awesome. They're so supportive. All the amazing students.
Cool. I'm just going to flip through. Oh, whoa. Hey, Pink. I'm just flipping through my slides. So, of course, if you haven't followed me already, you can go to ambitiousbookkeeper.com, and I usually blog weekly. Right now I'm in a hiatus because I've been prepping for these workshops, but and you can always like request topics for the blog too. I'm always appreciative of that because I want to know what people are actually struggling with. And after, now it's time for you to go do a diagnostic review. Right. Now that you have the pathway for it, or join Alyssa's Kickoff with Asana. There's my there's my dream board right there.
Right. I love it. You really do have to have that like sitting there. Yeah. Honestly, I remember when we were talking about like, well, what should you do? And it was going to be a Dubsado piece for my course. And then I was like, you know what? Like you crushed it at Diagnostic Reviews. Like you're phenomenal at it. You might as well. And the fact that like a lot of times when you ask someone to collaborate with you, a lot of times it's just this little tiny piece. But no joke, I remember sitting, it was 10 o'clock at night. I was sitting outside and I was like watching all the videos and I was like, I'm learning so much about, and then like the cool part is you get to see my thoughts in action with the things that I built with like the Asana template. Mm-hmm. They're amazing for the diagnostic reviews. You can get through a diagnostic review with that template that's provided in the course, but sometimes people need to see a real life action. I get asked probably the most is how I'm doing my work every day. Like everybody wants to see me actually doing the tax work or you doing, a diagnostic review. Well, how does this make sense? How does this tie together? And I think that that's really important to be able to show people is that one-on-one. Yeah. So if you guys didn't know, Kickoff with Asana is, we're going to be doing a private pre-sale. I'll give you guys the link here in a second. We're going to be opening it on the 22nd. Anybody who signs up during the private pre-sale for the 3 days, you have to be on the private pre-sale waitlist, gets access to Serena's diagnostic review breakdown of how to actually perform one. She gives like screenshots and like walkthroughs, and I like didn't know it was going to be that detailed until I walked through, and I was like I was just like amazed.
Yeah, dude, I go all in.
I know. You're like me where we like can't give half-assed stuff. Like,
nope.
It's either go big or go home. And unfortunately, like, I think that this is what this industry needs, though. I think that people like you are going to help to change this industry because everybody only wants to give a little bit to get that much when it's like, you've got to give this much to be able to get something back. Like, unfortunately, like to make a difference in this industry, if we help all these bookkeepers and accountants perform better work, we're going to have less crap to clean up and we can just
then we won't be having this whole little presentation.
Right? And then you won't have this many of a mess. Like, so awesome. Yeah, it's just awesome. But if you guys didn't know, Serena has her amazing workshop next week. I'm really excited because I am totally going to be there. I'll be in Vegas on one of the days, but I'll be there.
It's okay. It's like at 5 p.m. The workshops are happening at 5 p.m. Pacific time every day because I wanted it to be accessible to people that do still work a 9 to 5 or have kids and hopefully have help in the evening. So. And
what about like, do you have like a training structure? Like tell me about the whole workshop, like what's going to happen during, like who is it for? I know you've kind of touched it a little bit.
Yeah. So it's really like anyone who's been like dreaming about starting a business or in the early stages of it. And like, you've just been like lurking in Facebook groups, kind of like, this was me. I'm not even kidding. I spent so much time in Facebook groups, like looking at everyone's questions and like just lurking and being like, oh, I should be thinking about that. Oh, I should like, oh my gosh, there's so much I don't know already. I just thought this was going to be easy. Like I could just start taking clients. But then I was like, well, how do I get clients?
Right.
Like, I'm not really that out. Like I'm outgoing once I know you, but I'm not like, I'm a total introvert to the core.
Yeah.
So the thought of like going out and getting clients was very scary. So we're going to like work through that a little bit. We're going to talk about what a bookkeeping business entails, like bookkeeping versus accounting, where the overlap happens, the services you can offer. Like you don't have to offer every service.
Yeah.
It's about building a business that like works for you instead of creating another job. That's one of the workshop days. Like I said, we're going to go through my tech stack that I've been using since the beginning. Most of the options are free. Like that's like, don't get shiny object syndrome. Just pick one.
Right.
And if you can't pick one on your own, I have a list of things that have been working for me for 3 years.
Yeah.
So we're going to do that. And then, like I said, we're going to go on day 3. We're going to be working on building an actual business and not just creating a freelance job, because there's totally a difference. Like, you don't want to put yourself in the employee role with these clients. You want to be a business owner and take care of you first.
Yeah, of course.
And then we're going to do a day on pricing, because I know that's a doozy. Like, when you're first starting out, like figuring out like, well, everyone's saying I should be doing value pricing, but what the heck is that even?
Yeah.
And like, shouldn't I just like charge hourly? So I'll give you some options, and we'll talk about like how to get started with value pricing, because I think that's like the level that people are missing. Like, yes, you can start hourly, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, don't let the gurus tell you like you have to be value pricing.
Yeah,
it's good to move towards that, but like, I'm going to give you the next step to get there in case you're not there already. And to be honest, like, value pricing is a beast.
Right.
It's a beast, and I still get it wrong. So
yeah, everybody does. I mean, everybody has priced something wrong.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
And then on the last day, I'm doing a bonus masterclass, laying out the roadmap for you to get your business on its, like, you know, having your year-long plan of where you want to be. And then, like I said, full transparency, that's the opening day for the Bookkeeping Business Accelerator, which someone asked if it was open now. It's not. It'll open on the 25th, but you can get on my wait list and get a chance to get it a little early bird special.
Yeah.
And that is at ambitiousbookeeper.com/PBA.
Yep.
I'll put that in the comments. So,
and I think, Taranda's here. Woohoo! She said, sorry, I missed the first part. What do you recommend for a new business just getting started, since there will be nothing to review? I think you covered that, but if you want to do a quick little rundown for her.
Yeah. If it's a new business and there's nothing to review, then no, you don't need a diagnostic. You just need a really thorough either discovery call or like an onboarding call with the client. Really, it wouldn't be in the discovery call unless they were like very eager to get started. It would be like you set up an onboarding call with them, and then you go through like kind of the last piece of the diagnostic, which is like looking at settings and the reporting. And that's really the only piece that you need to look at with them. You can just be like, all right, how do you want to see your reports? What accounts and categories make sense to your business? And so you don't have to do a diagnostic, but that being said, you do still want to charge for your setup.
Yeah.
But you don't have to charge for your setup. I don't like being that person that's like, you need to charge for this. If it doesn't feel right to you, and if you're new and you're just trying to get the experience, present it as a value add. Like, hey, I do free setup if you sign on with me on a monthly basis. If you're just doing like quarterly stuff like that, I charge $1,000 for a setup, or $500, or whatever feels right to you. Yeah. Because like pricing is a thing that if you're not if you're not a little bit uncomfortable with the price that you've set, then it's a little too low. Yeah. But if you're like massively uncomfortable with it, then that's going to show when you meet with the client.
Yeah, definitely.
So just be a little uncomfortable with the price that you set.
Yeah, for sure.
And Sarah asked, first Amanda says, how much will the new Asana course be? I'll let you answer that one.
Okay, so Kickoff with Asana for the private pre-sellers, the course is originally $695 or 4 monthly payments of $185. For anybody who's on the private pre-sell list, because right now nobody can actually get into Kickoff with Asana. At this point, we are doing a 3-day private pre-sell before the doors officially open at the end of October. So it's the chance to hop in now before we go live. The course is originally $695 or 4 monthly payments of $185 for all private pre-sell waitlisters. Let's get this out. Let's get this going. Is $445. So I'm giving a $250 discount, which is probably the most I've ever given off this course. So it's going to be a $200 off, 4 monthly payments of $125 or $445. And Serena's bonus is included for anybody who's on the private pre-sale waitlist who signs up during those 3 days. So the 22nd to the 24th. And then, what was I going to say? I always forget like my train of thought. Oh, and also whoever purchased. So we have this thing right now where we're doing a bit of a giveaway. So the first purchasers, when the doors open on September 22nd at 5 p.m. EST, the first purchaser gets $250 cash from me and also gets a full refund of their course. So even if you pay on the payment plan or you pay in full, you'll get a full refund of the course if you are the first purchaser. And we'll probably be announcing that like 2 hours after the doors open. So I'll post a link here for anybody who wants to hop on the private pre-sale waitlist. Like I said, I will make sure to take care of everybody with what Serena's included in the course. The course is already extremely powerful. You've been through it.
Yeah,
a lot of my students are here. Can probably say the same, but we added these bonuses of those real life behind the scenes, what's actually going on. So I posted the private pre-sale here. I think Shanita said, I think she has a question for you, or Sarah had a question for you.
Sarah says, how much do you charge for setup? I charge $800 for a brand new business that has no history, unless they sign on as a monthly client.
Yeah.
So if they choose, because I have a DIY quarterly package, if they choose that, I do charge for the setup, because that DIY quarterly package is them doing the bookkeeping and I come in and check on things. I don't call it a review because I'm a CPA and I can't call it a review unless it's an actual review engagement. Yeah. So if I were to call it a review, people would assume, because that's a level of audit. It's like a downgraded audit, but you do still like deliver a report. So yes, I don't call it. So that's something to be aware of if you are a CPA, like don't, and it probably is best to not call it that, even if you're not a CPA, because people might misconstrue it. And then if something gets messed up, they might be like, well, you said you reviewed things. Why am I getting audited? So yeah, I help them just check over things, make sure they're entering things correctly. And then I go over their numbers with them every quarter and help them estimate their taxes. So that's the only time I charge for the actual setup. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah. Awesome. Oh, and Shanette says, do we have a price for the Bookkeeper Accelerator course? Yeah. So like I said before, this time I'm offering 2 routes. And you guys are getting so much information right now.
I know, right?
Like, this really wasn't going to be like me selling my course, but like if you need it, then it's there. Yeah. There's 2 options. You can go through it on your own, or you can choose the VIP route and get weekly hot seat calls with me. And the do-it-yourself route is $697, and the VIP route is $1497. And I haven't decided on what payment plans look like yet.
Yeah, I was just going to ask if you were going to do. Have you thought about? I used to only do a payment plan. I think it was 3. And then because COVID kind of had hit when Kickoff with Asana had come out, I had a lot of people reach out and say, you know, I just can't do this. And so can you extend some sort of like a larger payment plan? And so I extended it 1 extra month. I feel like going 6 months for mine would have been too much at that point. But I think that sometimes that payment plan, especially during this time, like really helps people so much.
Yeah. Last time I did it 3 months, so I'll definitely do that again. I'm not sure if I'll do another option or not, but yeah. So that's the pricing on that. It's a steal, to be honest. I'm still improving things on it, so that's why it's not like super out of reach. And then the other thing is that when I was getting started, it was really, really hard for me to invest in myself. Super difficult. And if I had found a program that was more in my budget, I would have done it. But I was like, I can't pay $5,000 to start a virtual business. Like that's that's one of the reasons why this appealed to me, is like the low barrier to entry.
Yeah.
And so like you could pay $5,000 for like starting a brick and mortar business.
Yeah.
So it was, now I would have no problem.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And you know what? It's so funny that you brought that up, because someone in a Facebook group or something was mind blown about like a $50 checklist. And I can't even remember what, I think it was like for a cleanup or a diagnostic review. Mm-hmm. And I lightly said to her, and I said, you know what, like it's okay to invest in yourself. I used to be the same way. I didn't want to buy anything. And now it's not that I buy ridiculously, it's that I buy strategically.
Yeah.
That I buy things that are going to put me and move me forward. If you invest in yourself, it can tenfold bring it back. I mean,
Absolutely.
why not buy a $50 checklist of somebody who probably spent 5 years trying to perfect it, and they just handed you over 5 years? That's only $10 per year. If you think about it, the breakdown for what they're getting from it. Same with me, like my system, I can't just give it away. Like this took me a very long time to build. Same with you. These are years and years of your expertise. These are things, but the fact that we kind of lower it a little bit for people who, so they can get into it, because
I want it to be accessible. Like, I want people to succeed. Like my main goal is to impact. I want, like, this is a really big one. I want to help 100,000 women or men start their bookkeeping business. That's a lot of people.
I'm trying
to happen over the course of 10 years, but
I'm determined to have my whole entire office filled with these sticky notes. To tell me that like I've impacted that many bookkeepers and accountants, and like it's almost at the very top. I'm like, I don't even have room on that little wall. I see your sticky notes.
Yeah, that's just for the workshops. So like it's gonna be intimate, you guys. Like, so get in on it, get in on the VIP calls, because that's where the magic really happens. Like I'm an open book, and my students will tell you that too. Like they brought every question under the sun to these hot seat calls, as far as like what I make in my business, as far as like how do I manage the time between my family and my business, versus like, can you look at this client's like chart of accounts and tell me like where I should be focusing? So I think that one is the biggest piece for for students and for you guys, is to like have somebody to support you and ask questions to when you're starting to get clients, and you need to build that confidence muscle. And I can I'll be the training wheels for you in the beginning. Like you can bounce ideas off of me. You can ask me how to handle certain things. Because that was one of my biggest fears, is like, I don't have like a boss to ask how to do stuff anymore. Like, and I can figure things out on my own, but it is like scary to just not even have that option.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And even someone just to say, like wins, like you message me your wins. Sometimes I'll tell you what my wins are. And like, I think that we forget that, there's a beauty of working from home, but there's also the downfall is there's like the only person I'm talking to is my dog. Half the time I have to lock her out because she's like licking herself while I'm doing like live videos, and you can just hear her in the background, so it's like these people forget that you need to have people to bounce those off of. And a lot of these larger programs that people are offering don't have that one-on-one capability. You don't get to ask the program creator XYZ. That's the same. I mean, you're in my program, you know that I am always an open book to my students. I will give whatever I possibly can. I go live every Wednesday. Like they ask you random questions. Sometimes they're not even anything Asana related. It's just about business or marketing or getting clients. It's like, same with you. It's like, why not bring, especially because these people invested in you. So why not give back tenfold? So
I'm all about over delivering.
And sometimes same here, too much sometimes.
I try not to make it overwhelming, but like if you ask the question, I will answer it, because or like I will direct you to the right resource, because I'm honestly not always the right fit for people. Like there are other people that do what I do. There's some really awesome people that do what I do, like Katie Farrow. Like she's like a person that I've been watching for a while, even before I started doing this, and I was like, she's a good one to follow. Like, and you might resonate more with her than with me. So I just want you guys to be successful.
Right? Exactly.
So Lori asked, how do we contact you for a private phone call to determine what program with you would be good for me? I don't know which one of you you're talking about, maybe both. But
Lori's in my program, so she's already covered. She's covered.
Just DM me after this or in Facebook Messenger, and we'll set something up for sure. And then Sarah says, I love having my office at home and an office in town, so I see other humans. Have you been working out of your office through this whole thing still? Because we are technically considered essential employees. Which is kind of cool.
Kind of cool.
We should have accountants are essential.
Right. Ideas, don't get started. I can see, I know when your brain is exploding, just the way that you look at me, you're like, and we do this. I'm telling you guys right now, me and Serena hop on like often just random Zoom calls and just talk to each other. And we'll both be like talking and we'll just be like, our brains are exploding. And then like the conversation was here. And then now it's like, we've just created this thing that we're going to like want to do now. And it's just, I mean, I think that everybody needs that. If you need an accountability buddy or something like that that gets you, you need to find and partner with somebody who, I've had a lot of people reach out to me and say, hey, I want to partner, but they just don't have my vibe. And I think that that's really important, in that you guys should be finding people that you could align yourself with and talk to each other and see. And a lot of times you can find them within other programs. Like,
I was going to bring that up too. Like my business started exploding after I started doing a couple things. And one of them was investing in myself.
Yeah.
But also when you invest in yourself into programs that have the group coaching component or like the community feel, you start like, you start expanding your network, because people are like, oh, you're an expert in sales tax. Oh, I have a client that really needs help with this and I have no idea. So can I refer them? So you'll even get business from your competitors, which
it's so funny.
Follow me, you know, I don't believe in competition.
Right.
So
yeah.
I'm not like above it, but I'm saying like there's enough for everybody. And like we all bring our own unique.
Yeah. I think one of my students in Kickoff with Asana, because I told you I just don't do desktop, and my staff who does do desktop, I only want to limit her to so many of them because she's already got her own stuff.
Yeah.
And I actually reached out to my students and I said, does somebody want a desktop? Because I'm going to go to them before I go to.
Absolutely. I do too. I'm always posting in a group when I get leads that I know are not a great fit for me, or, you know, like, because I'm starting to like shift to a certain niche, which is another topic that we cover in my program. But yeah, I'm all about like collaborating with people that potentially could be your competition, or like I was going to say, getting into programs to expand yourself, but also to just expand your network. Getting into programs that are not necessarily designed for accountants too are really good. Yeah. If it's some other area of your business, like speaking or like email marketing or Instagram or whatever, like you'll get put into these communities of tons of other business owners.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So,
and make amazing connections with these more intimate. I mean, I've gotten close to you. I have a girl who's in my course who's in California that we have plans to meet up. There's a lot of students of mine who are in Bookkeeper launch that know that I'll be at BKX.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's
still happening.
You know, it is. So they were supposed to do it in October, and then they had to push it back again. So they actually pushed it to June or July of this following year. They offered refunds to everybody, or if you wanted to roll it. So I just said roll it over because I already planned to go.
Yeah.
I was supposed to go to Vegas for that. So instead we're going next week, me and my girlfriend.
Oh, let me know how it is. I love Vegas.
I know, I'm really excited to go.
I know how everything is with like all the regulations. I don't really want to go yet until like everything's like normal.
Oh, we're going to Fremont. We have no plans to go to like the Strip. We're going to go to Fremont. We're going to go to the place where you can swim with the little sharks in the tube.
Cool. Yeah, I'm excited. So maybe I'll get to go to the BKX then.
Right? Yeah.
But yeah, that's another thing. Like go to events.
Yeah.
Like meet people, like not necessarily like I said, just same with programs, not necessarily accounting programs. Although like for us, like with me, I'm always like, will I get CPE?
Yeah.
If I need it. But also like now I'm more about like, I can get CPE on my own time, like online. I would rather connect with people that are more like me.
Yeah.
Exactly. A lot of accountants aren't. But yeah, awesome.
Cool.
So, yeah, just PM one or both of us if you're interested in the programs. Happy to hop on a call.
Before we hop off, do you have your phone? Can we do a boomerang? So if any of you guys are here and you guys follow us on Instagram, or you don't, you are Serena. How do you spell it on Instagram?
SHOUP, SERENA.
Yeah, as Serena Shoup.
And it should be right here on my screen.
And for me, it's Workflow Queen. So if you guys happen to have your phone, I'm going to do a boomerang real quick, and I am going to post it on my Instagram. You guys are welcome to do a boomerang as well. And you can tag us at Workflow Queen and at Serena Shoup. Remember, we keep telling ourselves we're going to do this.
Every time we meet.
Okay, we're gonna do an awkward wave.
Oh.
So everyone who's watching who I cannot see, you better do the awkward wave. Okay, ready?
Oh my gosh, you're hilarious.
Anyway.
Okay, well, now that everyone saw us do our awkward little photo.
Okay, guys.
Thank you all for showing up. And, oh, I have one last thing. If you are here live and you want, I forgot to mention it in my little diagnostic presentation, but I did promise anyone that shows up live gets my diagnostic report that I actually send to clients. So, or to potential clients if I do a diagnostic review. Mm-hmm. So yeah, if you want that, just DM me. I want the report, and I'll give you access to it because I was not on the ball today enough to do a landing page.
It happens. I mean, done is better than perfect.
Yep, that's
Absolutely.
My mantra. Awesome. Thank you so much. This was a blast.
Okay. Well, I'll let you go. Thanks for meeting with us today.
Bye.
Bye.